How are we all doing today, everybody? I'm Wolf the Wolf's Den, and today I wanted to talk about the Nintendo achievement systems that came out for the first time in the form of these Donkey Kong challenges. They are comprised of two sets of challenges: the Donkey Kong Country Classics challenge, not very time-consuming, also respects your time in that it sends you straight to the challenge. You don't have to play through the games, get to this random spot in this old classic game. It just takes you right there. You play the little mini game. It's actually pretty fun. These challenge cards do come with a 39 card set when you complete them. As you get the 100%, Nintendo should send you a code to redeem them. While the Donkey Kong Classic challenges are pretty straightforward and they don't take too much of your time, the Donkey Kong Bananza challenges do require you to have beaten the main game, so you do have to play through the entirety of the game. That doesn't mean that you can't play the challenges along the way, though, but it does mean that some of the challenges might be a little bit more difficult. I do like how Nintendo laid out these achievement systems because I find that oftentimes achievement systems typically just have you get achievements for the major events of the game and then not much else outside of like maybe collecting 100% of the things. Achievements used to be about kind of rare niche circumstances that you could find in the game or weird interactions. Not that these Donkey Kong challenges particularly exemplify that, but they have a good blend of, I think, calling back to the old days of what achievements kind of used to stand for, in addition to having the more common form of achievements today. All of these achievements here are literally just get the ability and then use the ability as tossed water. It's not something you do right away, I believe, during the challenge. And I actually didn't even get the egg bomb until the very end of the game because I just didn't upgrade any of my abilities because of the other challenges that I wanted to do. You can upgrade your abilities. I just didn't know that. It was a whole thing. I'll get into that later. All of these challenges, though, are very easy. The initial ones, getting to the planet core, are just the initial events of the game. This last one here being the final main game story. And then these challenges here are like the Donkey Kong Country Classic challenges, where you have to play through a challenge in the Donkey Kong Country style. And I like these ones quite a bit. These were a little more annoying, I would say, in terms of like completing them, just because if you do have to repeat them over and over again, you're gonna get kind of annoyed. I can't remember which one I had difficulty. This one was easy, and they take forever to load, so I shouldn't do that. The other mode is the Against the Clock, which is not too difficult, I would say, overall, but it's definitely worth looking at the requirements, and also note that if you do have any upgrades, they will make it easier. Like I said, I, for the most part, did not have upgrades for the most of the thing, but for some, you really do need them. For example, this one on screen here, if you don't have upgrades, it may actually not be possible to beat. It's very difficult. I beat it when I encountered it the first time through the story mode. I hadn't upgraded anything to that point, so I think I maybe only had about 18 points. It may have been more. I can't remember genuinely, but I didn't have very many. It was definitely under 30 points, and so I charged up. I'll show you the example here. Oh, maybe I can't show you the example here. Yeah, no. That's kind of funny. The example it shows and the example it suggests are different. Because the example it suggests, which maybe because I'm in the wrong location. Okay, well, I'll show it for this one. So here's it, just going and doing the thing. Nothing too special. But when you go to view the example, it actually shows you how the fastest way to do it might be. And this was a horrible example. mean, I see why. It's showing that you just throw 3 very quickly, but it is definitely not the best example. The Kong Bonanza challenge actually is a really good example challenge of showing off kind of what it expects you to do in terms of cheese. And the Rowdy Ramby Rumble race, I don't know if that's what it's called. Instead of this instantly going in and then you start a timer, what it suggests is standing in front of the starting line and doing your charge punches and then destroying 15 to 20% of the area beforehand. If you go back at the end of the game, you can probably destroy even more with more upgrade points. I took quite a long time doing this challenge because I just did it right when I encountered it. So some things to keep in mind as you maybe progress through these on your own, if you do want to try and get that 39 card challenge, is that it is a little time consuming to try and beat this game all in one go. I had to take, I have a lot of free time to play games. It's my main hobby. And it took me 4 or 5 days of gameplay. So I've already played Donkey Kong longer than I have Disgaea 6, which I've put a decent amount of time into. But I haven't played it as long as Pokken Tournament, which I also feel like I haven't put a lot of time into. But then I've had that game for a lot longer at a time. So I have played that game a lot with friends and things like that. So even though I don't play it very often. But in any case, my point being is that the Donkey Kong Bonanza challenges, they're not necessarily difficult, but they are a bit time-consuming. And some of them, they aren't so much difficult as they are trial and error to kind of work out, the best route, or maybe what upgrades you might need. I definitely went back and forth. I would do one challenge with upgrades on the Kong Bonanza, but then I would do another challenge with upgrades on the Snake Bonanza. And most of the reason that I was doing this is where I was heading earlier. Most of the reason I was doing this was because these 2 final challenges want you to complete them with 0 skills unlocked. I wasn't sure when these were going to be, and so I just kind of said, well, I'll just beat most of the game without upgrades, which was certainly a decision that I made and was still very fun, especially because I did play the game partially with upgrades. It's not like I went 100% of the game, but it was definitely a fair majority of the game where I just didn't have upgrades. The gold challenge, you absolutely need to beat the game first because it gives you double gold as an outfit. And I've saved a couple of gold challenges because I wasn't sure if they were repeatable or not. They are repeatable if you leave the layer and then re-enter. But I wasn't sure, and so I have a couple saved because, what if this is the one that, I wasn't sure of the logistics of what these achievements entail. It's Nintendo's first time doing them. I would expect them to be relatively attainable, but then quirks can happen, who knows? So for the most part, this is a really fun challenge. It is a bit time-consuming just because of the length of time, and particularly the the final rehearsal skills. The example here, it does want you to play through all of the final rehearsals, which is a post-game talking to the elders challenge minigame with 0 skills unlocked. And I did the first one, and I started the second one. And the thing is I think you just have to complete them. I don't think you have to actually, but yeah, I think you just have to complete them. I don't think you have to 100% them, which means you don't have to do the bonus content. You just have to complete the mission, if that makes sense. Bonus being, if there's 2 bananas, you only need to get 1, right? Well, I want to be clear about that. Because there's two aspects here. Each elder requires you to have more and more total bananas collected. It starts out at 300, then 350. I assume it continues for 400, 450, 500, however many there are. It might be 500. I'm not doing that. Point being, you have to have collected 500 bananas total. I've collected most of the bananas that I come across. I haven't 100%ed each area, but that's the thing, is if you breeze through all of the challenges right away, you're not going to have the bananas for the end game, so you rushed through and kind of skipped the game, not enjoying it. So I kind of did a middle ground where I tried to take my time enjoying each area of the game, but some of the areas I didn't feel as much, and I just kind of wanted to move on to the next section. So I encourage you to kind of think about where you want, as you might progress through these on your own, because it is time consuming, but it is also a really well thought out game. There's a lot of little niche things that you probably might miss if you just rush through, and I don't know how much of the world changes after the post game. It says things have changed, go check it out. And so I think it's kind of one of the things that might be worth thinking about, you know. But also, I'm recording this on the 23rd of August, which means that we have until the 31st and then the 1st. So, you know, and that's just under 2 weeks, I believe. It took me about 5 days to complete Bananza, let alone, you know, just to complete the final core secret. And I still have a few challenges to do. Granted, I'm pretty sure right after this video, I'm going to complete this Donkey Kong Country Nostalgia Challenge. I'm going to complete this Race Against the Clock Challenge. I have them pinned. I know where they are on the map for each layer. So I'm not too concerned. Also, let me show you just to show you, because they really did think this out pretty well. If you aren't sure, so it doesn't do it for these ones. The Ramby Rumble Rowdy Race it doesn't show you where that one is, but that is just in the race layer when you talk to Diddy Kong or do the race. This one, though, I'm glad I haven't done this one to show you, because it actually shows you where on the map it is. So even though it doesn't take you directly to it when you press start, I have Donkey Kong Bananza open, inserted but not open right now. So if I click start, it actually will just open the game, but it doesn't take me right to it, like it did for the classic challenges. So, you know, keep that in mind as you're going through things. You do kind of want to, if you decide you do want to go back to that City Smash Kong Bananza as you have more upgrades, because maybe you rush through things right away, remember that, you know, pin it, because you're going to want to come back to it later. But it does show you where also on the map it is, which was handy. It did come in handy a couple times, because even if you pin it, it's still kind of a hassle to find. And I don't know, maybe at different resolutions it's different, but the map for Donkey Kong Bananza on my 4K monitor and TV is a little laggy. And so there's times where it slows down, and it's just a little weird in general. I don't know if it's just me or if I'm not quite used to it, but I find that it doesn't, sorry, my toe touched my dog's toe and she pulled her foot back and it scared me. It's like, yeah, when you open the map, it's just a little, you know, the freeze layer is not too bad. It zooms in a little bit when you go somewhere, but I've had some weird interactions trying to and yeah, I don't know if you can kind of see, it's just not the most smooth when compared to the rest of the game, which is, you know, really smooth, really nice. I think if I had to guess, it has to do similar to the tilt shift, similar to the Link's Awakening lag that occurs on the original Switch 1 console, but not so much the Switch 2 console. There's just it could also just be the fact that maybe the whole map is being rendered. I'm not entirely sure. Getting kind of off base here. Outside of that, I think the Nintendo Challenge system is pretty cool. I hope they do more for other games. I do kind of... I'm 50-50 on how I feel about the physical rewards, because on one hand, I think it's really cute, even if they're not, you know, the challenge cards themselves are not the most special looking. I like the classic ones. I think the classic ones are kind of cool, you know. You get some character cards of each one and some 8-bit stuff. I think these ones are pretty cute. The Bananza ones, I think they're a little silly, you know. I think the Donkey Kong characters in general here are a little silly, though. I really like the Planet Core ones. I think having the 3 main villains and then, you know, these 2 characters who, you know, this guy has a lot of impact at the beginning and then kind of peters out, and none of the elders really make too much of a lasting impact beyond their initial appearance. And similarly with the Harmonial, we do have to go back and talk to him. Actually, that's on me for not continuing the story in full good faith. And these ones are pretty cool, you know. I'm sure there will be some cool display options that come out, and you know, for framed options and things like that that people come up with. Maybe some 3D printed ones, or ones that people will sell online. But yeah, much beyond that, you know, let me know how you feel about this Nintendo Challenge system as a whole. And if you enjoyed this video, definitely give me a subscription. And yeah, outside of that, let me know if you enjoyed the video. And I forgot that shaking it's funny. I wanted to talk today about the end of July. How we all doing today, everybody? I'm Wolf the Wolves Den, and today fuck. I can't spot that one. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the DK challenges that came out for the Nintendo Switch online service. Nintendo's first